everyone, welcome to my weekly episode of Show Me How It's Done. So this video is a little surprise extra. Last week I wasn't able to do my Show Me How It's Done video because I had no voice. So I decided I wanted to not only do the card that I planned for today, I wanted to show you the one that I had planned for last week too. So that is what this card is. You'll notice this video isn't going live. I just decided to film it to kind of test out my voice and make sure I could. And hopefully you still enjoy it. I will be putting it up on YouTube as well as our Facebook page as well. So, welcome. This is a card using the Here Together bundle. So this bundle, the stamp sets and the dies, they're going to be in our next catalog that starts in May. However, the paper that you see hiding behind here will not be carrying over. So I did want to highlight that before it disappeared, and I wanted to show you how to make this adorable little card. I thought it was just rather simple, something that you could make a few of if you needed to send them out to maybe some of your students or a few different friends. What I love is that we're using the new Natural Tones blends. So these guys right here, we have 10 markers, and you can purchase the entire set for $61 plus shipping and tax, or you can buy them in sets of 2, so the lights, the mediums, medium deep, deep, that sort of stuff. And they're just a really, really nice array of shades for you to do not only skin tones, but we have lots of little critter stamps that maybe a little bear or a little bunny that need a few extra little details to them. So I will be using those later today on a set of hands, but I wanted to show you some of the products that are in the suite just very quickly. So Here Together stamp set, and there are coordinating dies. I have been using a few of them, so they're kind of missing. Same with the stamp for that one. But you can see the little hearts and the matching dies. They were in there. So this is a really nice heartfelt set for you to be able to use. And there is coordinating paper while supplies last. So it's good until May. And you can see there's some pieces like these joined hands or the raised hands that fit so perfectly with the suite. And then some of these sets with the black and white that complement the color scheme so nicely because you can do basically anything you want with them. They're all double-sided. You've got a nice rainbow look if you wanted to color that, some checkers. It's a really, really nice set of paper. The card that I'm going to show you from this week's class is highlighting this sheet specifically. Just with the raised hands, I had a lot of fun coloring them with the blends when they first came out. So I'll give you a sneak peek of it. This card here. So we're not making that one in this video, but watch my one at noon and you'll see it. Okay, let's get going. This is a very simple layering card. So we need a card base. I have cut this one at 4 1/4 by 11, and I've scored right down the middle at 5 1/2, giving me a nice open and shut card. For the inside of my card, I just want a plain piece of white paper. So this is going to measure 4 inches by 5 1/4, and we will attach that to the inside right now. Whenever I use a dark cardstock, I like to have a lighter color underneath. Ivory would also be a beautiful complement to this card, but I went with the white for my purposes. Okay, now to layer up the front, let me show you the original card. Simply lots of layers. So my first job was to pick one of those designer series papers, which is why my stack is so small because I've been making quite a few of these. So any black and white that you want, you need this piece measuring 4 inches by 5 1/4. Ignore the fact that I've completely taken the middle out of this. I am somebody who really doesn't like to waste my designer series paper, and so putting an entire sheet on this card and then covering up was kind of a waste to me in my books. So I just take my dies and I cut a shape out for another card. Okay, so you don't have to do that. All you'd need is 4 by 5 1/4. But if you want to, you can utilize the middle of your space and cut that project out for something else, okay? So we're going to attach this to the front of our card using some sort of flat adhesive. I'm using tape, and you can certainly use seal or glue, whatever is your preference. Okay. I realize I make a little bit more work for myself by doing this, but it also doesn't waste my paper. Makes me feel good. All right, here we go. So this guy is all attached. Now I'm going to my shiny layer here. So I've chosen the brass. However, we have great golds. We have matte gold if you didn't want something so bright. We have copper, we have silver. The world's your oyster with foils, basically. So whatever you want, you'll just need to cut a piece of foil that is 3 3/4 by 5. And once again, I decided to make use of my foil. So I cut my sentiment, which we see on the front here, out of this. And then I add a little bit more room. So this branch has nothing to do with this card. I will once again be using it on a different card, but it's cut and ready to go because I didn't want to waste my foil. So this piece is once again getting attached using a flat adhesive. You could pop this one up on dimensionals if you want, but the foils do tend to bend, so make sure you use quite a few dimensionals if you want that to stay in place. My focus was mainly on this set of hands. I wanted that kind of popping out of the page, but this would be a good layer if you want the extra dimension to pop out as well. Okay, so attaching that now. All right, the third layer, you're not allowed to chop anything out of because we have to see the whole thing. So this is a piece of real red cardstock that is cut at 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. What I did was I took the Hive 3D embossing folder and I rolled it through just to give this piece some texture. So you can use any embossing folder you own, but just something to make it stand out because you want your sentiment and your hands to really have a purpose. The reason I did red centered around the fact that I wanted to showcase this heart in the hands. So that's where my color scheme came from. You could switch it up however you want, but that's why I went with red. So this little guy, once again, using some tape or some adhesive of your choice, going on the front of the card. Well, now to decorate, you can choose to use the You Matter sentiment, which is the one that I chose, or there's also a Here For You sentiment. The only reason I didn't do this one is because it would have taken up the majority of my space. If you see, it would have taken up kind of the major center part, and I wouldn't have really been able to fit these hands as nicely. You could shove this down and put them on the top though, if you really wanted to. Okay, so that's an option for you, but I liked the You Matter turned in the horizontal way. Okay, so You Matter, and then we've got a nice little set of hands. I stamped them in Memento Black, and I'm going to color them with the blends right away. Okay, but let's get this attached because the glue I'm putting on here will need a couple seconds to dry. So I'm just using my Tombow liquid glue, and everywhere that there's kind of a larger section of foil showing through, that's where I'm just going to put a little dot. You do not want a ton, just little dots kind of around the letters will be more than enough. This is a very strong glue. And if you're smart, you can also use the adhesive sheets and turn this foil into a sticker before you cut it out with the your dies. That way you wouldn't have to add glue. You just peel off the backing and add it as a sticker. But I was making too many of these to do that. Here, just let that sit for a few minutes while you're coloring here. Okay, so I've got my blends. You can use whatever shades you'd like. You've got your lights, you've got your mediums, you've got your darks. I like to start with my light for the fingernails, and then you can go from there and use anything you'd like. Plug in my computer. There. Thought I had that plugged in, but I guess it was not. Okay, here we go. Fingernails, like so. Now the world's your oyster. You can use whatever shades you want. So for this one, I kind of went with the medium lights. Maybe I'll try a medium deep kind of set. So whatever I want as the darker color is going to go on first. And I'm just going to kind of do the edges of my hand along the fingers. Just to add a little definition to the hand itself. Doesn't need to be much at all. Okay, so oops, to the side here. Now once you have that, you're going to take your lighter choice and you're going to color the entire hand, including the sections you've already done. This one's beautiful. Okay, so you'll see as I blend into this color, how it will just kind of take over and only leave the lightest of differences in there. And add more color, shading wherever you need. Okay, so there's one hand. Another thing is you could always do two different colorings. Maybe this is two people putting their hands together and making a heart. Then you could do two different shades. But that's totally up to you. There we go. So there's my little set of hands. Take my markers away. And I'm just going to pop them up on a set of dimensionals. This sentiment is now dry, so that's good. Where did my dimensionals go? Had them. I will just steal these ones, I guess. There we go. I don't know. Dimensionals go all over the place. So nice big dimensionals on the back of your hands. It can go just like that. So there we go. Very, very simple card to put together. You can make a ton of these. And as long as you use a red in the background, you don't have to cut out another red to do anything with. Now, I did want to show you one other alternative. If you decided you didn't want to use the shiny sentiment, you can always cut your sentiment out of your designer paper in the back. So this is great if you've got like the black designer paper. You could always use that instead of the shiny sentiment. And if you want to dress it up on the inside, you could cut a little strip of that matching paper to your front. This would just be 3/4 of an inch wide by 4 inches tall, and it just kind of dresses up the inside of your card tiny little bit. But two different alternatives for you. So you can choose whether you want something really bold and bright or a little bit more muted and using the designer paper instead. So yeah, totally up to you guys. So there you go. I'm sorry I couldn't do this one live for you, but I do hope you still enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed the projects. And for those of you who did have the pleasure of making this card here at my monthly club, I hope you like the alternative version as well. And maybe you'll use some of your products for that. So I look forward to doing my live for you guys at noon today. And I hope that you'll be able to tune in and see the project that I had planned for this week for you. So I'll see you soon. Bye.